Okay, Bean, come on. You can be in the stream. Come on. Come on. Look at this fantastic animal. He is so plump. Look at him. Ain't he pretty?
So I have a backstory. I don't know if it'll make sense. It doesn't make sense to me, but it does if that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so growing up, my mom and I have been very, like, I don't know, like attacked by ghosts for some reason. And just recently, I just found out that, have you ever heard of that saying that if someone is born still in the sack, they're like the child of Lilith or something like that, and they're like a veil?
I've heard similar versions of it. Yeah.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. So
Mm-hmm.
I just found out that that was my mom. And it makes a lot of sense thinking about it. But when I was a baby, my mom told me that I was floating out of my crib, and she couldn't figure out why, and it used to scare her. And when she would take me away from like the thing that was making me float, she would wake up with handprints on her legs, like bruises, right?
Oh my God.
So, well, hold on, because it gets weirder. So, ever since I was a baby, ghosts have been attracted to me, and I can feel them. I can feel what stance they are taking. Like, I know if they are crouching, I know if they're crawling, I know where they are in the room just because of, like, I don't know, it's just a weird energy, man. So, when I was in seventh grade, there was this little girl that got murdered in my neighborhood. And I think she was like 3 years old. And her name was Rachel Marie Bunyan. And there was like this local guy that took her from the playground and just like slaughtered her, okay? And this was at like the school. And one day they finally found her body, and I guess like she was scattered up in the canyon or something like that. And learning about that story, I've been very empathetic towards that kind of stuff. So I used to go to the park where she got abducted from, and I used to speak to her spirit. Well, my neighbors, because they knew that I was like intrigued by this stuff, and my neighbors, they were like, so we think that we might have her hidden in our basement. And I was just like, her spirit, right? And I was like, hey, well, this is freaking weird. And I didn't trust them. Like, I didn't believe them because they used to say that their house was haunted, but there was always a little girl. And I was like, okay, well, do you guys have like an EVP? And they're just like, yeah, we have like an EVP recorder that we could set down here where it's most active. And I was just like, okay. So we put the EVP down on the couch in the basement, and we all got out of the house. And we were outside for about 20 minutes just to see if we could capture something. All of a sudden, when we go back inside and we listen to it, we heard a demonic roar. Yeah, it gave me like shivers down my body, and I booked it out of that house. Well, ever since then, like that same very night, my house, so I live by this train track, and just recently there was like a train that hit an SUV full of people. It was like a mom, two newborns, and a 2-year-old or something like that, and it was like right by my house. And all of a sudden I could hear like water dripping, and it sounded really close to my ear, which was really weird. And it felt like there were like 6 pairs of eyes on me. Oh, I thought it was that demon that followed me from his house, because I have never ever got that feeling in my room before, and this was in my room. And then a few years, like we're jumping a few years, right? Because a lot of people are like skeptical. They're just like, yeah, I never feel ghosts, I never feel spirits, whatever it may be. But a few years go by, and I just graduated high school, and this was like 7 years ago. And there used to be, I don't know if there's anybody from Ogden here, but there used to be a Smith and Edwards on the corner of Washington Boulevard. And it was like a weird factory building, kind of, where they like store everything, and then they, if you need it, they go back to that building, but it was abandoned. And me and my best friend at the time, she wanted to go ghost hunting, and we were being idiots. And we were just like, okay, yeah, like let's go. So we went to this building, And we had to like parkour up to the third, like this broken window that was on the third floor just because we could not get this door open. And we were in there investigating it, me and this kid named RJ, 'cause my best friend, she was a bigger girl, so she couldn't get in. And so we just investigated. She was looking out for the cops. We were investigating this building for at least like, God, I want to say like maybe an hour. And we get to like this staircase and something did not feel right. But like, do you know what Smith and Edwards is?
Um, I don't think so.
So Smith and Edwards is kind of like an old military um, farming kind of store where they like if you need like military grade boots, they sell military grade boots, or if you need stuff for
Okay.
farming, okay. So we get and like they have old like WW2. Oh my God, such a gamer over here. They have World War II's like helmets from back in the day there, or they did. It's now demolished. But there was this trail that was leading from one of these big rooms to this staircase, and this staircase was a spiral. And all of these helmets, there was like 100 to 200 that were just lined up the stair thing, right? And me and my friend, we were getting an eerie feeling about it. And all of a sudden, my best friend called me and she was telling us to hurry and get out because she felt weird, which was weird that our energies connected like that because we were like 100 feet away from her.
Mm-hmm.
And so we booked it out, and all of a sudden, so like when you go into like this Smith and Edwards building, this was the scariest thing that ever happened to me. But when you go in, you have to go through like this little fence. There's like two fences. First one is fine to get through. The second one, you kind of have to crawl under if you're fit. And I'm very, very petite, so I could fit under there easy. My friend, he's kind of bigger and taller, more musky, musky. And he had a hard time getting underneath it. But we were booking it back to the cars. We're crawling through this fence. And on the sides were like these weird power generators that were held up like these tall antennas for this old ancient building. And as soon as I ran out, I see this guy that I've never seen before in World War II clothing. Scared the crap out of me. I thought he was a homeless guy. And I turned to him, I stopped, and I looked at him and I said, "Oh my God, dude, you scared the shit out of me. Are you okay? Do you need anything?" Because I had water on me, and he looked like he was sweating or hot. And he just, like, he looked at me with his finger up to his lips, like he was telling me to be quiet, and then looked straight ahead of him. And when I looked to go look at my friend RJ to tell him that there's a guy here, I looked back, and the dude disappeared. Just
Wow.
gone. And that, dude, I'm not kidding you, that scared the living crap out of me. I don't even know how to explain, like, I can't even explain it. So I went home and I told my proctor mom, because at the time, like, she's very into, like, that bad and good juju kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, talking and, doing stuff with spirits could either be good or bad. And that night, I still felt like confused about the whole situation, that I feel like that energy followed me ever since.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. I've had similar experiences to that, and it is startling and jarring when you see something and then it just vanishes right in front of your eyes. It's definitely an
Oh yeah.
experience you don't forget.
Oh no, like it's not a bad feeling like at all, which goes to this is my last story, I promise. It's short as hell. But this story and why I say like that energy I feel has followed me, and it's not scary. It's more of like I've got a creepy shadow that's always like in a corner of my room no matter what. And sometimes I think I'm going crazy. So just recently, a few months ago, um, I could feel this presence in my room. And when I tell you, you guys can sense it. You guys can sense when there's something off about your room. And like you can tell when another energy is in there beside yourself. And I was trying to go to bed one night, and me and my partner, we were sleeping, and we would hear like these weird rapper noises, and it sounded like there was a mouse under our bed for some reason. But there wasn't, because I would check. And all of a sudden, like random stuff would start happening, like our light flickers, our lamp, it just flickers on and off. And once you tell the ghost to like, stop or politely ask it to stop, it will
Yeah.
stop. Or like her pops flew off of her shelf that we had in our room, and we couldn't even explain. She was a skeptic until she saw this. And then like a few nights later, I went to bed and I could hear that sound. And I would kind of wake my brain up, but I wouldn't open my eyes up because I was trying to be weary that something was in my room, right? And I could feel it. I could just feel it. Now, this one was kind of funny. This is when me and the ghost became best friends. Now, I could hear this thing making these annoying ass sounds in the goddamn corner, and I'm just staying awake to it, and all of a sudden I hear this shing go right past my head, like it threw something at me. It bounced off of my desk and completely disappeared. I didn't even look in the corner to see what the hell it was. I looked on the ground to see what ghosty threw at me. I was so pissed. And my girlfriend, she was like, "Did you have another nightmare?" And I said, "No, the damn ghost I've been telling you about threw something at me." And I was like, "Huh, you missed, Ghost." And I was like, "I'm trying to get some sleep. Can we become like friends or something? Like, what the hell?" Ever since then, when I come home, when I go to work or anything, the ghost will tap my light and flicker it to let me know, like, hello or goodbye. And if you don't say hello or goodbye, it will throw a fit and throw shit around my room.
You know what you should do? You should get a recorder, like a voice recorder, and like try to communicate with it and see what it wants. And maybe you can get rid of it if it gets too annoying. You can talk it into leaving once you figure out why it's there in the first place. That's what I would do.
But I just recently moved. It's still at my partner's parents' house, but I invited it to come live with me when we were moving. I was like, "You can come live
Oh
with me."
no.
And has it not like what I'm like I said before, like I can tell if a spirit is really bad or if there's something off about this spirit, but there's nothing off about this spirit at all. Like it's just got funky, fun personality, but it never came back.
Well, I think I would get tired of that pretty quickly. I'd be trying to get it out of my house, especially the throwing stuff. There was someone the other night came in and said that they had a ghost that turned the knobs on their stove. I was like, that's too much. That is entirely too much.
No. See, if it started like ripping stuff or like throwing bigger things, then I'd be concerned. But there's nothing off about this spirit. I just think it wants to be, acknowledged and let know that it's there too. And like I did do that, and the ghost didn't come live with me, sadly.
Well, that might be a good thing. You never know. Well, I really appreciate you coming up and sharing your stories. And those are really cool stories, really interesting. I especially love the one where it vanished because I've had that happen as well. So I can definitely relate. I
The
bet,
guy being like there is broad daylight, like he was a real person. Yeah, that
yeah,
was scary.
it is.
Well, thank
Anytime
you
that
for having
happens.
me on.
Hello, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Well, I'm a little nervous about this. I've been watching you here a little bit, and I don't know a lot about the energies and ghosts and this and that. I mean, I'm not even sure I'm a believer much of it, but I had something happen to me I want to share with y'all. A couple of times this has happened. I mean, several times actually, but two I want to tell you about to stand out to me. And the one thing is the loss of my father when he passed. It was on Christmas Eve, and I went to a Walgreens to get some razors. I needed some blades to replace my razors. And coming back up the aisle where the cards are, greeting cards, a card fell right out in the middle, just right out of the blue, right in the middle, and the card stood up. And I could clearly read, "I'll always be there for you, Dad." And I didn't think, no, I'll pick the card up and put it in there. Walk outside, I got in the car, and my sister Tasha calls me. She goes, "Danny?" I said, "Yeah, this is Daniel." I haven't heard from her about 3 years. I was living in Pittsburgh, and they're out of St. Louis, Missouri. And she goes, "Dad's dead." And I mean, I didn't know how to react to her just saying it like that.
Yeah.
So, and she hung up the phone. I thought this has got to be a prank. So I called back, and she said, "Yeah, that Dad died." And my brother grabbed the phone. "That's no way to tell your brother about his father," and blah blah blah. They got in a little bit of an argument. He gets on the phone and my brother says, "Yeah, he was ejected from the vehicle in a car accident." He said, "We're at the scene now." And he said, your brother Ernie's gone hysteric. Tasha, she's not thinking straight. So it was, I don't know if that card was a premonition or what it was, but it was no sooner than I got in the parking lot, I got the call.
Hmm.
And it was just, it was so close together. But the big one that stands out to me, do you remember 9/11?
Hmm. Oh yeah.
You remember what you were doing?
Yeah.
I think everybody does live during that time.
Yeah.
Um, I'd been drinking the night before, and Christina Edwards was my girlfriend at the time. God, I don't know why I was with her. She hated me. But anyways, I was drunk and I fell asleep in the bed of a double wide trailer out in Hick Hood over in Granite City, Illinois, which is across the river from St. Louis. But it's the country Hick Hood is what I call it. So I fall asleep and I have a dream that I'm standing looking at the front of a cockpit of a plane. And I didn't know it was a cockpit, but I could see this frowny guy and another guy. They're pushing and kicking on this door, and they're kicking on this door. And then the door swings open, and they run in and they commence to attacking these pilots. And I can see the planes going down lower and lower into this field. And just before it crashes, I woke up. And I thought that, just before it crashes, I wake up. I thought, well, Christy was shaking me. She's the one that woke me up. Wake up, you're having a nightmare. And I told her, I said, wow, that was so real. I said, I was just in a plane. It was crashing into the field. She said, dude, you freaked me out. She flashed her out all violent. And she turns on the TV, and there's the first plane just hit. No sooner than she turned on the TV, the first plane just had hit.
Wow.
And it was, I don't know, premonition, so to speak, but definitely something that's eerie and make the hair stand up on it. It does me every time I tell it. But I mean, as far as energies go, uh, ghosts and all that, I don't know what to believe on that. I don't doubt it, but I mean, I think everybody should pretty much keep an open mind on these things because I've had some weird things happen to me. Really weird
Yeah.
things. A lot of them coming to form premonitions. I don't. Do you ever
Yeah.
get premonitions?
I've had quite a few really strange, off the wall, out of nowhere, seemingly don't make sense at the time. And then, once they kind of come to fruition later on, then I'm like, oh my God, what happened? Like, why is this happening? So,
Well,
yeah,
I
I've
believe that
experienced
all
it.
ghosts that are tied to us. I believe that if they're real and there's ghost things the real thing, I believe it's probably energies that we allow in our life on our own, probably because of things that's going on in our life at the time.
Yeah.
But I I don't think that ghosts are just going to start haunting you for no reason. You have to be susceptible to it in some way if it's real.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
goes with any energy.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I have some, pretty uncommon beliefs when it comes to the paranormal. And I talk about this all the time on the streams, and I think everybody kind of has their own interpretation of it. And I've seen lots of people who didn't believe in it at all have an experience, and then all of a sudden they believe everything. So there's
Well,
lots of variation.
well, it's the kind of world we live in. I mean, people are gripping the grab and on things of the paranormal because everything that's real sucks. I mean, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the things beyond. But we're reaching beyond this life. People like you and I, and people that are on this your followers, they're reaching beyond this life because this can't be all there is. It can't be. And so I don't even want to be here. And does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, but some people, I've heard people say, "Well, when you're dead, all the dead people know is that you're dead. They're dead." Bull. It's scientifically proven that when you die, your body weighs less.
I've heard
Einstein,
about that theory.
well,
Yeah.
Einstein's proved in theory that electricity weighs. It has weight. So oxygen don't. When it leaves your body, that's not going to make you weigh less. But the energy, the electricity, when it leaves your body, you weigh less. I forget what the weight amount is. It's so minute, but it's proven instantaneously upon death you weigh less. So where does that energy go? Where does the energy go when you turn off a light? I mean, these are questions that the scientists can't even answer. Turn on the light, the energy comes on, but where does it go when you turn it off?
Right on.
So, anyways, Tales from the Dark Side. Hey, thank you for listening to my two stories. I hope they weren't too out there.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming up. I really appreciate it, and really cool, really interesting stories.
Yeah, it's what was real, a real thing that happened. I could tell you a couple more, but I think that they were LSD related, so I won't even mention them. That's been 30 years ago, sweetie. But you get it.
Yeah, I don't think we're allowed to talk about that on TikTok anyway.
Sorry, TikTok. Well, hey, you stay blessed and keep doing what you're doing.
All right, thank you. Have a good
And
evening.
hey, if it comes down to it, follow the light.
Right on. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. So I brought you both up at the same time. Do you guys have creepy stories you want to share? We'll go one at a time.
I do, but I guess I'll let Brian go first.
Alrighty.
So I lost my partner of about 8 years back in 2009. I used to be a program director for a group that booked people of esoteric or paranormal uh, type people, and we had a gentleman by the name of Patrick Burns who used to have a show on TV called Haunting Evidence. And Patrick lived near me. When I lost my partner, about a month after I lost my partner, I was babysitting a dog of a friend of mine, and I lost my partner in the galley kitchen. And the dog that I babysitted went to the galley kitchen and looked down the galley kitchen, looked at me, sat, looked at me again, looked down the galley kitchen, and I'm like, what's going on? So I call my friend Patrick, and Patrick had not ever met my partner, didn't know anything about him, but he brought over some of his equipment from when he had his show, and he brought over a machine called an Ovilus machine. And anybody who hasn't done any paranormal investigation, Ovilus machine kind of takes numbers from the environment and it attributes it to words that kind of sound like Stephen Hawking, robotic words. And he turned off my electricity. We lit some candles. He turned on a battery-powered camera, and he said, "I'm going to turn this machine on, and it's going to start spitting out some words before it starts to make any sense." And that's not what happened. The first thing that came out of that box was Baby Bear, which was my nickname from my partner.
Oh, that's really
And
interesting. What was the pet name again?
Baby Bear.
That's I'll tell you why I think that's really fascinating is because the Ovilus is usually programmed, depending on which model you get, it's either programmed with like 200 or 500 words. So for it to put those two together is pretty neat.
Yeah. Um, so immediately after that, it went hurt, fall, sorry, hurt, fall, sorry. My partner had died of a widowmaker. So he had gotten out of the shower and was headed to the laundry room through our galley kitchen, and he literally fell where he stood and immediately passed away. So when it said hurt, fall, sorry, yeah, it made sense because he literally where we laid that box was literally where he fell. And I said to him, we had a conversation basically. I said I'm having to leave the place that we're in,
Oh,
and I don't.
hang on just a second. They're saying we got an echo. Can you mute and unmute?
Yeah, let's see.
Okay. See if that's any better, guys. Let me know in the comments. Any echoes? Okay, say something,
There
Brian.
we go.
Okay. Are we good,
Um,
guys?
no, I'm still hearing a echo.
I don't. It
I'm
sounds
hearing my
fine
own
to
echo.
me. It sounds fine to me.
But yeah, so uh, I basically told him I was having to leave, and I didn't want him to stay in the place, and um, he said basically the next thing was warm water, light, and then that was it. And I said, well, what was it about warm water? And I asked somebody, not Patrick, but I asked somebody later, and they said that people who've had crossover experiences have sort of said that sometimes the crossover experience kind of feels like being dunked in warm water.
Yeah, I've heard that somewhere. I've heard something, something similar to that. That's really
So yeah,
interesting.
so that's my experience, and it was not only did that happen, but the day of his memorial service. And I kind of logically know how this happened. We went to Golden Corral. This was back in the day when you would get your tray and you would go up to like a thing where it would have silverware already wrapped. They changed that later on, but when I went to that thing where the silverware was already wrapped, there was a napkin on the top of that silverware that said Brian, had my name on it. Now I know logically I know what that was. It was probably an employee who made the bucket full of silverware and he put his name on top of it. But the fact that was in that line just before that and thinking to myself, the last time I was here, I was with you and I wish you were here. And then I round that corner and get to that bucket of silverware and there's my name.
Wow.
So, and then what's happened since then over the years is I'll be in the car and I'll be thinking about him and then a song will come on.
Hmm.
That's the big one. That way he communicates with me via music a lot.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that was my
Well, that.
experience.
Well, thank you for sharing your experience. You're my first guest to share one, so that's awesome. How are you?
Fantastic. That was pretty interesting.
To say the least, yeah.
Yeah, I honestly love hearing about that stuff, but yeah, I don't know. Anyways, so I do have a story. I don't know if it's as interesting, but it was pretty paranormal, as close to a paranormal experience as I've had, but it freaked it scared me to death, honestly. So, do I just like start?
Yeah, go
So
ahead. You
bad at
got the
talking on
floor.
TikTok. Thank you. Um, Okay, so I was about 17 or something like that, 17 years old, and I had gotten together with a couple of my friends, my boyfriend at the time, my friend Mallory, her super awful boyfriend, and just a couple of people. And at the time, we were all really into a lot of like witchy stuff. Like we all like to look online and find things out. At least some of us did.
Yeah.
The girls more than the guys. And so I had put together a whole little book of shadows for myself because I was super about it, and I had written down some spells and what each of the like incenses and stuff did. And so I grabbed some lavender, and my friend said she and I don't know why that was what I went for. I was young, anyways. But I grabbed some lavender, and my friend had known about this cemetery that was said to have been haunted and wanted to take us there. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna grab some protective stuff and let's go. And so we did, and we get to this cemetery. And I mean, anytime you go to a cemetery, it's instantly creepy just because it's a cemetery. You automatically get the chills. But we walk in, and her stupid boyfriend, sorry, my kid ran into my phone. Her stupid boyfriend starts like being just awful. Like he starts shooting off fireworks and stuff in the cemetery and
Oh no.
like calling the ghosts out like he wants to see something, and me and my friend are like, hey, maybe don't do that. Not too long after he starts that nonsense, I look off to the right, and our friend Matt had started walking, but he's just like kind of walking like slowly and staggered and like almost like he's not really even looking at anything, just like staring off into space, walking forward. And we kept calling after. We're like, yo, Matt. And he wouldn't turn around. And like, not for nothing, he's not the kind of guy who would like play pranks and stuff like that. That's not him. So we were kind of confused on why he wasn't answering us. So we went over and tried to like shake him out of it, and he wouldn't come out of it. And then all of a sudden, we hear Eric, the stupid boyfriend, falls over. I mean, I don't know if he fell over or he got pushed, but it was just so much weird happening at the same time. He basically flops over. Mallory said that it looked like he got pushed. He said that he got pushed and just started bolting towards the gate. And then at the very same time that he went on the floor, Matt like jolted out of it, like stopped walking forward and straight, and like kind of was like, what's going on? And so then we all got creeped out and we left and we went back to her place because, it was one of those all-nighter kind of a deals. We go back to her place and we're still talking about this because we're all a little shaken up. And she's like, I don't even really want to go back to my house, which is where we were going. She said, because I already feel like there's something there. Like, I don't think we're going to escape this weird feeling. I'm like, what do you mean there's something there? And I felt very egotistical because I felt like I was all read up on everything, which I probably wasn't half as read up as I should have been. Truthfully, I just thought I was. And so it's like, I can do a cleansing on your house. If you really feel super scared, no big deal. I got you, girl. So like, I have my book of shadows with me. I'm like, I'm ready to go. And we get to her house and we sit around and I'm like I'm getting ready to do the cleansing and everything. I'm like getting everything prepped. And I'm telling her this story about how when I was even younger, like 13, me and my friend, my like old time friend, we would just, we would play these different games. Like one's called Doors. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Mm-mm.
So essentially, you're like one person will sit in the other person's lap, like lay their head down in the other person's lap, and then the other people will like sit in a circle and hold hands. And the person speaking, holding like the temples, you like rub the temples with both fingers, with like index fingers, and say red doors, white doors, many different color doors. Red doors, white doors, many different colors doors. And they're supposed to be closing their eyes and envisioning different doors flying by.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're supposed to, when you say stop, they're supposed to tell you what the door in front of them looks like and decide whether or not they want to go into it. So this was the premise of the game Doors. And then they're supposed to tell you what they see behind that door, etc. And there are like rules about what kinds of doors you do and don't want to go into. Like, don't go into a door with no handle, that kind of thing. Silly. Anyways, so I was telling him about this, and again, stupid boyfriend decided he wanted to play it. Gave us some story. I don't know how true this was either, about how his mom had been murdered. And so he said he wanted to play it because he was interested in what he would find out. I was like, okay, fine. I've played this a million times. Nothing ever really happened. So we sit down to play this game, and he stops at a door, which of course has no handles. And I was like, honestly, I don't feel like you should go through it. I feel like you've done enough tonight. But he says he wants to go through it. And at that point, no lie, I didn't even think anything would happen. All the lights start like flickering and being all the lights start flickering and being weird. Their dog, which was on sleeping medication and passed out, gets up and starts barking, like fiercely barking. And Mallory was doing something. She had her phone out for some reason. Oh no, when her dog started barking, she freaked out, grabbed her phone, started taking pictures. And I don't know how, but her phone like dropped out of her hands. And I saw the flashes from the different pictures, so I knew she was taking pictures. And I picked up her phone, and we were looking back through it. None of those pictures were there. It was just like a lot of weird happening at once. So I'm not entirely sure what to make of it, even to this day after it all happened. There are also like these weird, like ghostly handprints showing up on the wood. It was strange. So I don't know what to make out of any of this, but I just thought I would share it with you because it's fun.
That's really interesting and different. That's kind of, unique to what I usually hear.
Yeah, it was a pretty wild night. I haven't had many like it since. Me and my friend Travis did see like something in the sky that looked unusual once. We were sitting down and just shooting the stuff, and I never realize how much I curse until I'm trying not to curse. By the way, it's so funny. And then we're just shooting the stuff and looking up at the sky, and there was this one that was like really weird. And as soon as we started paying attention to it, and we started talking, like, why does that look weird? Like, that's not a star. That's not. It just zoomed off. Light and speed zoomed off and disappeared. So that happened too.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you for coming up and sharing your stories. That's really neat.
Of course. To answer your question, Jackie, I have no idea if it was demonic, but it was super spooky. Like I said, I still don't know what to make of it. It was weird.
Yeah, sometimes paranormal experiences are like that. They're just nothing but confusing, and that's just how it is.
I almost like it better that way, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's easier to, process if it's just confusing, I guess.
It's like, oh, look, I don't know things. That's fun.
It's better than it being demons, I guess. All
Well, you
right.
have an awesome night.
Yeah, you too. Hello, hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right. Also to share just a little story. I'm not really a good talker and all that stuff, but I can try my best. So this happened probably like around like 15 years ago with my ex. Well, long story short, there was one day we were just laying down, and I ended up waking up, and she was sleeping next to me, but like she was staring at me, and I'm looking at her like thinking like maybe I don't know, maybe she's like half asleep or something, but she's just like staring at me without like she's not even blinking, right? So at first I'm like, nah, whatever. So I just turn around and go to sleep. So it's been happening for at least a week, and then I just started noticing she started like breathing like weird, like real deep. And so at first I started freaking out, like, man, what's wrong with her? Like I started talking to her, like, hey, are you all right? Like, are you okay? And she wasn't talking. She was just staring at me, like without blinking. And then I started noticing her hands. They were like balling up like an animal claw or something, like both her hands. And I was just like, what? Like tripping out. And then so she just started like just breathing weird. And her eyes were just like, I don't know, like she had like strength that I can't explain it. But anyways, back then I used to live with my in-laws, so it kind of like frightened me. I'm like, you know what? Like I'm gonna go get them. But like every time I like go try to get them, she'll snap out of it. I'm like, what the hell? So I was watching that movie. What is it? Constantine with what's that guy's name that plays in the Matrix?
Keanu Reeves.
There you go.
Yeah.
So they always say like you're not supposed to talk. You're not supposed to talk to somebody when they're like possessed or whatever, right? So I was talking, and it was like she was just growling at me. Like she wasn't even talking, but she was growling at me and freaking like swinging at me, but like with her hands were like claws, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what the hell? Like I was tripping out. So I seen that movie, and I remember there was a part where he showed a mirror to the demon or whatever, and I got all scared, right? So having like a little makeup mirror, so I grabbed the mirror and I showed her the reflection, and then like boom, she got all scared, like and like a little kid, like she had a blanket, put it over her head and everything, and I'm like, what the hell? Like tripped me out. So there's other times where she kind of like I started talking to her like, hey, like are you alright? What's going on? And there's times that she'll get up and like swing at me. So I'm like, you know what, man? Like, and there's days where, I'll let her know, like, hey, man, like, like she'll knock out a bit, whatever, the next day, and I'll tell her. She'll be like, nah, you're lying. I'm like, nah, for reals. Like, there's something going on. Like, are you playing around with me, or are you joking, or what's going on? So one day I went to work, and then I told myself, you know what? When I get home, I'm gonna try to record it. So I put a phone in my pocket without her knowing. You know, like I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to sleep, act like everything's normal, and I'm gonna try to record the incident. But the trippy part was when I did that, and like I noticed, you know, like I'll wake up or whatever, or act like I was asleep. My bad. And then she's like, you know, the part where I'm saying she's just staring at me, right? She's just staring at me without blinking or nothing. So then I try to get my phone from my pocket. And before I do that, she already knows I had the phone in my pocket. Like she grabbed like where my pocket was, and like looked at me and then did like a no symbol with her finger. It's like she knew I had the phone in my pocket. And I'm like, how the hell like did she even know that? Like I planned this shit like at work, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, the only thing that I knew that it like how you out of her is when I grabbed the mirror. So that's the only thing that kind of tripped me out was like, you know, every time I show her a mirror of her own reflection, she'll get all scared, like, and she'll put her hands like over her face, like,
Wow.
and then boom, it'll freaking like snap away, and I'm like, what the hell, like, I don't know, but
That's pretty crazy. I mean, I've never heard of anything like that before. This is, you know, pretty unique experience. It sounds like. Does she still do it? Is it something that
okay.
that
So what happened was we ended up moving to San Diego, and like I told my sister about it. I told a couple of people about it because I don't want people thinking like, oh, this was crazy or whatever. You know, most of the time people don't believe you. But like I said, I always try to get evidence. I always try to record, and nothing. It's like this thing was smart or something. Like it didn't want me to get evidence or nothing. I'm like, what the hell? So we ended up moving to San Diego, and we ended up going to sleep, right? And then I guess my sister was up with her friend. You know, she was watching TV or whatever. And then all of a sudden, like it started happening. Like I woke up in the same incident. I'm like, oh my god, like what the hell? Like it's like that shit followed us. Or excuse my language, but it's like, you know, this thing followed us. And then when she was having like that moment, whatever, my sister walked in. So my sister walked in. She's seen what was going on. So she's the only one that is a witness to that actually seen it. Mm-hmm. So when that happened and she's seen it, and then she had a friend that, you know, she was all into church and stuff, and she was like, oh yeah, you know, this girl's possessed. So she ended up getting some olive oil the next day. My sister's friend, she went to church. She had the priest pray on the olive oil and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So then, you know, she came back to the house or whatever. She did a prayer and all this stuff. And then, you know, my ex started crying and all this stuff. And then, boom, it just went away. It never came back. So I don't know if it was a prayer in the olive oil, and she read like a little scripture in the Bible or something. And then, like, she started like crying and shaking. And then, like, all of a sudden, like, that was it. It hasn't ever came back.
Wow. It's really strange.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not really a good storyteller, but I mean, there's way more stuff that happened. But yeah, it to me it was just a trip, and what tripped me out was it was like it was scared of a mirror, like looking at its own reflection.
Was there anything happen leading up to this, or do you think that it was like a location-based entity that brought it on?
I'm thinking it was a location. I know that the person next to us, I guess they ended up passing away or something. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, maybe, I don't know, demon or ghost, or I don't know how you want to say that, but I'm thinking it has to be something to do with the location, probably.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
that's
I mean,
what it kind of sounds like.
But there's other times too where, you know, sometimes we'll be walking, you know, walking the mall, whatever, and all of a sudden she'll stop passing, like she'll pass out. And then she'll pass out, and then like she started like grabbing her neck, like she can't breathe, like. like, I don't know if she's having a panic attack or what. Like, we even took her to the doctor, all that stuff. They're like, oh no, everything's normal, everything's normal. But all these stuff that are happening. But like I said, we went to the doctor and everything. They're like, oh, you know, everything's normal. There's nothing wrong with you. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, because she was having those events, you know.
Yeah. That I was actually going to ask that if she'd had like a medical evaluation, maybe, especially with like a neurologist. That would be my first go-to, is to see a neurologist and just make sure everything's okay there because,
Yeah, I
why
guess
not
they're
rule it
saying
out?
like she was having panic attacks, or they're saying something like that. But they're saying, oh no, everything's normal. Like, but it happened so long ago, you know.
Yeah.
But
Well, that is spooky. I'll tell you that much. I hope she's okay. I hope, whatever it was, whether it was metaphysical or, medical, hopefully it's okay now.
yeah, she's good now. It's been so long, but it was just because me, I never believed in that stuff. I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? I don't believe ghosts, spirit. I don't believe none of that stuff until it happened to me.
That happens a lot. A lot of people are total skeptics and just non-believers, and then you have one experience and you're like, I don't know what to think of this or what to make of this. It happens a lot.
Man, I'm telling you, that was one of the craziest things that ever happened to me. But I'll see like the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose. I see all those movies, and like the way she balls up her hands. I don't know if you seen that movie, but
It's
the
been a
way she
long
balls up
time.
her hands, like her like claws, that's the same exact way. And I'm like, oh my god, like that's the same way. Her reactions were. I'm just like, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what to make of that myself.
Yeah.
Pretty spooky. Well, thank you for coming up and telling us and
Oh, you're
sharing your story.
welcome. Do you believe in spirits? Like, have you ever seen spirits before?
I've seen a lot of things, lots and lots and lots of things, but I don't know what I think they are. I mean, I've seen full on apparitions. I've seen, crypts. I've had UFO experiences. And the only thing I think I really truly believe in, I think Bigfoot is just a primate, and I think aliens are probably most likely real, but I don't know what I think about, ghosts and stuff like that. Not for sure anyway. I kind of waffle back and forth.
Yeah. Also, well, there was one time it was a trip because the same mix. So we were coming back from one of my aunt's house, and we're out there driving in the vineyards coming back, and then we see a spirit like drive in front of our. I was driving an SUV. We seen a spirit like cross the road, but kind of like not like on the ground, but not like kind of like in the middle, you know? It kind of just flew across us, and then there was one following it. And we're like, what the hell? Like, they're kind of like what is it? Like what is it? Transparent white. Like the only thing you can see is the outline of their body. Like you can't see clothes, you can't see a face. Like only thing you can see is the outline, and they're like a transparent white, like a fog, like fog and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them are. I've seen some that had a little bit of, variation to them, a little bit of, I don't know, colors or texture or something. I don't know what you would call it, but yeah, for the most part, that's exactly what they look like in my experience as well.
Yeah, it's a trip. Life's
It
a trip.
is.
All right. Well, thanks for having me up.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So I go to this military place, which is a World War II place.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked one of my buddies if there's good and negative. So the plus means good and the negative means evil. So I took a picture on this wall, and after a couple of days, I looked at the picture, and I saw these 3 demons, and one of them had a claw coming down at me.
So are you saying you took a picture that a demon appeared in?
Yes, there was like 3.
Do you have it on hand to where maybe you could like turn on your camera and show us by any chance?
I had it, but I got a new phone, so I don't have it.
Okay.
I showed everybody at my day program, and they're like, yeah, you caught a demon on there.
What makes you think it was a demon, though? Like, why not just, something paranormal in general? Any particular reason?
So the place that we went to, it's like a ghost camp.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my buddies, I asked if there was good and negative.
Mm-hmm.
So after a while, we split up, and some of us went into different places to take pictures. And I just decided to take a picture of this wall. And after a couple of days, I look at the pictures, and when I saw the demon's teeth and claws, I totally freaked out.
I'd really love to see the picture. If you ever run across it, you should email it to me because I'd really like to actually do photo analysis, paranormal photo analysis, and it sounds really interesting. And I've never seen anything quite like what you're describing, so would be interested in checking that out. So did you have, was there anything else came of that, or was it just the one picture? Did you have any other experiences to go along with it?
On the way back home, I had a dream that the whole place was on fire. And my sister's like, "What's wrong, bud?" And I told her about my dream. She's like, "You must have had an experience that scared you." And I showed my mom and them. They're like, "Wow." But I will try to find the picture.
Yeah, definitely. Find that picture. I've got to see that. I want to see a picture of a demon.
Like, the claws were very long. And it was very weird because usually if you go on a ghost hunt, you don't kind of experience that stuff. But it happened to me.
Yeah, I've been on some investigations where, people thought maybe they had demonic activity or something like that, but I've never captured anything or seen anybody, on my team or whatever capture something that I guess we were convinced was demonic. So, but well, that's really interesting. Um, Definitely try to find that picture. I'm itching to see it.
Yes, I will try to find it.
Alrighty.
And
Well,
we're
thank you
going
for
back there
coming.
again this summer.
Okay, you better take plenty of cameras and video cameras and get tons of footage.
I will.
Yeah, make sure you back those pictures up too if you capture anything good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming up and sharing your story with us. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye bye.